Hey, my name is Sasha and I'm back. Yeah, so I missed the 2 previous weeks. I'm so sorry about that. I'm not gonna explain why right now because I actually already explained it in the video that I'll post on Friday, the vlog type video. But since I had a little bit of time right now, I thought why not catch up on the topics that I missed. The first one was things we are tired of hearing as trans people. The first thing that came to mind is really the cliché question that was never asked to me actually. It's the question, are you gonna get surgery, or even what's in your pants? And I know that one of my trans friends came out to 4 of his friends and 3 of them asked him if he was gonna have bottom surgery. I mean, I get not being educated on trans issues and everything, but for real, what makes you think that, first of all, this is the most important part of being trans, because it's obviously not, and second of all, that you have the right to ask this question, and third of all, that this is the first question you have to ask? Like, why? As for me, it's actually something some of the guys have said in their videos. I wouldn't complain about the questions that have been asked to me, because the people around me are generally really respectful and they usually don't ask rude questions, but that's kind of the problem. I mean, I don't want people to ask me rude questions. I would just like people to ask me questions sometimes instead of asking somebody else. For example, when I was in my first school at the beginning of September this year, apparently people weren't sure if I was a boy or a girl, and instead of coming up to me and asking me, hey, what are your pronouns, they just went to see my friend. And if by any chance you are one of those people and you're watching this video, I don't blame you at all, and please don't feel bad. This isn't me calling you out or saying that you're a terrible person, because I know we all make mistakes, especially if you've never met a trans person before. I get that you might think it's rude to come up to me and ask me, hey, what's your gender? And obviously don't phrase it like that. But now you know that really it's better to come up to the person instead of asking behind their back, really. The second topic was toxic masculinity. I really liked Riley's video on this topic, so you can go check it out because he said tons of stuff that I absolutely agree with. Toxic masculinity is something that I find, quite frankly, ridiculous, but it also scares me in many ways. Not all masculinity is toxic, obviously, but a lot of cis men have toxic masculinity, and it can just be something that affects them and has no real impact on the people around them, or it can be something huge that has enormous consequences on the women that they live with mostly. An example of toxic masculinity that's harmless to other people but I think harmful to the man himself is, for example, when you're a cis man and you're afraid to wear pink because people will assume you're gay or something. And toxic masculinity is rooted in sexism and homophobia. Toxic masculinity is not something men are guilty of, but it's something they are the victims of. Growing up, boys are taught that crying is not okay and that they shouldn't show their emotions, and it can lead to a lot of problems. I talked about homophobia and gay men before, but gay men can have toxic masculinity, of course. For example, the mask for mask gay men. The ones that have like no fats, no femmes, no Asians on their Tinder profiles or Grindr profiles. They don't want to be seen with feminine gay men because they think that's a threat to their masculinity, and that's just so stupid, honestly. So what I've talked about is already pretty bad, but then there's the toxic masculinity that's even more toxic. And this toxic masculinity is what leads to men being abusive, men beating women, men raping women. Like, they think they're the boss because they're a man, and that makes them inherently superior to their female friends. When something isn't okay with them, they'll shout at you, they'll be violent. And yeah, rape culture is a product of toxic masculinity, because men think that as soon as they want to have sex or they want something, they have every right to go and get it, even if the girl they want to have sex with doesn't agree. I'm sorry, this video is kind of all over the place, but my conclusion is basically that patriarchy sucks, toxic masculinity sucks, and we need to do better. We need to do better at educating kids, educating teenagers, and we need to do better at punishing grown men who exhibit toxic masculinity. Now, I said at the beginning that toxic masculinity scared me, and that's partly because I'm scared that I will become a toxic masculine person at one point. And I know that's stupid because that's totally not who I am, and I'm not even that masculine to begin with. I'm a pretty feminine, non-binary person. But with HRT, I'll probably end up passing as a cis guy. And even though I do not consider myself a man, that's what people on the outside will see. That's what men will see, and that's what women will see. I'm scared I'll let it get to my head and start exhibiting toxic masculine behaviors. So if you're watching this and you know me in real life and at some point I start saying some sexist bullshit or something like that, please punch me in the face. Because just the fact that trans men were often socialized as girls doesn't mean that they can't exhibit toxic masculinity, not at all. And I guess the criteria is a bit different for trans men because, for example, I think that if a trans guy doesn't like the color pink and doesn't want to wear pink, that doesn't necessarily mean that he has toxic masculinity or that his masculinity is fragile. It's probably just that during most of his childhood and maybe even teenage years, he was forced to wear the color pink because it's usually associated to girls, and now that he's transitioned, he doesn't want that color on him anymore. If it were a cis guy, yeah, it's ridiculous and just wear pink, man. But if it's a trans guy, I think it's understandable. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but you get my general points, I hope. Yeah, so that's it for today. I'm filming this on Wednesday morning, so I'll try to post it later in the day. So it will be kind of a bonus video, and you'll see 2 different videos from me this week since I missed the past 2 weeks. I hope you guys have a fantastic day / evening depending on where you are, and I'll see you on Friday. Bye!